ours is the only one that they have to do like, because they gotta hit all of those lines going around there. So that's why ours is all dug out and on the sides and everything.
And the reason for not telling you?
And there, I don't know what that reason was.
That was the apology.
And,
There was too many to know.
they will,
Nobody knew how to speak English.
we're the only ones. We're the only ones like on that street with the
There's
driveway.
too many.
Okay. That ought to work.
And, they're gonna concrete it and widen it like 1.5 feet on each side.
Okay, we're live. Mary.
All right, I'm
Good
sorry.
morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How's everybody? Good, bright and bushy-tailed this morning. It's cold outside. What happened?
I know, I walked out in my Texas t-shirt and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. I went ahead and grabbed a jacket.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Let's see if we're still on here. Aw. Okay, first glitch.
I like that Shad second TV.
Okay, hold on. It kicked me off. Good?
I think so.
Okay. Try this again, y'all. Good morning. Okay, we are talking about maps today, and we're going to do our first map here. Here's the handout, the blank map. You'll just take one, pass it around, and leave it on the table. We're going to start with, so far I think that I have just 4 maps that we're going to go through. We'll probably get through 2 today, and then we'll do 2 next week, and we'll be done with maps. But these are just some really basic Bible maps that I think are very helpful to any student of the Bible, no matter what level you're at, whether you're a beginner or you've been at it for a long time. It's good information to learn. It's good information to refresh your memory about. So we're going to start with this map right here. This map is basically a map of the ancient world. I'm going to mirror my iPad up here on the screen so that what you see up here is what you have in front of you. So this is a map of the ancient world, and we're going to go through and explain everything that we're going to fill it in today. That's what we're going to do. And then when we get done with this map, we're going to look at just a map of ancient Egypt, because a lot of stuff happened in Egypt in the Old Testament. So we're going to look at those 2 maps today. Any questions so far before we get started about this kind of thing? Okay, we're going to go. So I'm going to use my iPad here. First thing that we're going to fill in here are the bodies of water. All right. So when I pull this up, I've got everything already listed here, and we're just going to go one by one here. So as I highlight that. So the very first big body of water is this here. It's the Mediterranean Sea. If you can locate that on any map, you're going to know where you are. It's really big. The Mediterranean Sea goes here. I found that when filling in maps, especially on a blank piece of paper, if I do it in pen first and then color over later, that's kind of how I have it outlined on my iPad here. We're going to fill in all the bodies of water first, and then we'll color them in. The next one is this 2-fingered body of water here, and that's the Red Sea. The next one here is actually the Persian Gulf. And we have one up here toward the top, and that one's the Caspian Sea. And one more, the Black Sea up here. And it actually extends over here, kind of connects a little bit, sort of, to the Mediterranean. All right, so if you've got all those colored in, written in, we can now color them in. I did that here. Helps to see them a little better.
What is the title of this map again? I'm sorry.
I just titled it The Ancient World. Bible Times map. I don't know. Y'all are so cute with your colored pencils.
Is that gonna work?
I love it.
Ancient World Bible Times?
Yeah, sure. Whatever helps you remember what it is.
To color in your seas, the water.
Peggy didn't know she'd be coloring today.
No, that's not gonna work. We need a sharpener. Oh well, you can do it at home.
They want on.
Oh,
Try this one.
probably an electric one around here somewhere.
No, I'll try this one.
Here, you want this one? I'll
That's
use
okay.
that one.
Huh?
I'll use that one. You want
It's
that?
all right.
Okay.
I'm good, I might color it when I get home.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe
Hey, I'm gonna worry about staying.
I should have bought Crayolas.
I've got, I've had to do last week's class when I get home. Today's my first day I've had to, well, starting right now. it's my first
You're not
free
trying,
time.
we're not trying to color it all. Well, I do, I just.
You'll have to win first place.
I just kinda went over it, so I can do shit at home.
Make the red see red.
Printing is so pretty. Your printing is pretty. Your printing is pretty. Oh. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move forward. Y'all can finish your beautiful coloring later.
Yeah, we'll be here all day.
Next, we've got a couple more bodies of water here. I guess, I don't know if you call them bodies, but rivers that are very important here. We have first the Tigris and Euphrates. So you're going to draw in kind of what I did here. They connect down here from the stream from the Persian Gulf. So they connect here and then they split. This one is shorter than this one and it kind of curves out there. So if you can draw your squiggly lines looking something like that. They're together at the south here at the Persian Gulf and then they kind of split. And one is definitely longer than the other. I really did try to find a great map that had them already on there, but I couldn't find a blank one that had everything on it that would be helpful for us today. So we just got to draw in some squiggly lines.
So which one's which?
Okay, so we're going to label those Tigris and Euphrates River. The Tigris is the short one, the Euphrates is the long one. I wish I could hang up all of your artwork on the wall after class was over.
I just did some engineering and crossed my rivers where they shouldn't be, but that's
Oh.
all right.
Yeah,
Okay.
my little one went too far.
Yeah, they don't cross each other, but they run parallel. I guess they meet, of course, like we said, in the
I don't know
Persian
how
Gulf.
I remember this.
What?
I don't know how I remember this, but if you draw the points in which, like the main points, and then you draw your lines.
Okay, yeah, that
Yeah,
helps.
so like find your, see where the Euphrates dips down, you would put a dot right there, and then you would put a dot where they come together, and then you just connect the
Connect the dots.
Does that make sense? I'm sorry.
That's awesome.
But how do you know where to put the dots?
You just eyeball it.
Well, it's way better than what I did.
Well, I
remember
did.
this. Mine doesn't really look that bad at all, but I got
The important thing is that you know there are two major rivers there. One's called, yes, very good.
Yeah,
together.
that's
It's
probably
close
true
to
too.
it.
So they
Maybe
come,
that's
they
how
come
I
out of the
remember
Persian
that.
Gulf together and then split?
Yes.
My picture does not reflect that.
Yes, that's pretty, I mean, that's relevant, I guess. That's,
Yeah.
okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is this. If everybody can look up here just for a second. We have here around the Persian Gulf this outline. You see this outline that makes kind of this half or crescent moon shape, right? Like a C. You see that right on your paper. Okay, so that is actually what's called the Fertile Crescent, and that's important in Bible times, even today. Fertile Crescent. That's what that's called, and it extends from the Persian Gulf all the way through the Tigris and Euphrates rivers down into, this is Egypt over here, and we'll talk about that in a minute. It's a really huge area of land called the Fertile Crescent. So we fill that in and color that in if you want. I colored mine in green. And the reason it's called that is because of the fertility of the land there by all that water. Otherwise, it's just desert pretty much everywhere else.
Start here.
I didn't realize this is so off
Start here
subject.
and come all
Yeah.
the way
Because
over
I was,
here.
something was said about
No, not in there. That's through here.
a vacation, like if you could take a vacation.
Oh,
and
uh-huh,
I
uh-huh.
said something about I like to cruise the Mediterranean Sea. It might be kind of safe there. And then I looked and see the Black Sea, which
Yeah.
is right at Russia. And I'm thinking, okay,
Oh, no.
that wouldn't be such
Well,
a good idea right now.
That's pretty far,
I mean,
actually.
it probably is.
Yeah, and you have all of this really Mediterranean part that you might be most interested in. Greece is, I mean, you know, all that's over
well,
there.
Greece,
so.
Italy, Spain.
Yeah.
As well as, yeah.
So it's further
yeah.
west.
Oh, no, probably wouldn't be safe. That just, I don't know why that popped in my head when I saw that.
Okay, we got, I think one more major body of water here, sort of. Here at the west end of the Fertile Crescent, we're going to draw in, here you go, the Nile River. Cool. There you go. It basically is a line that goes straight up through the Fertile Crescent and it branches. There's a lot more branches than that of the Nile itself, but just you can branch yours however you'd like. There's some major branches, minor branches, but we'll label that next, the Nile River.
I always thought the Nile River was in Africa, so just,
It's on the continent of Africa.
oh, okay.
Egypt. All right. Okay, so now we're going to label some locations. Of course, the Nile River is in Egypt, so we're going to label that area of land, Egypt. I just wrote it here, but you can write it wherever. It's all the same area. All right.
Okay, the bottom part where it says the Nile River, that green area, that is Egypt?
No. This is all Egypt. The green area that you colored in is the Fertile Crescent. It shows that it extends all the way in Egypt because it follows the plush water. Wherever there's water, there's going to be plush
So it's within
growth.
Egypt, that part of the crescent.
Yes. So the Fertile Crescent extends from the Persian Gulf all the way to the Nile River.
So the Fertile Crescent isn't a country or
No,
anything,
no,
it's
no, no, no,
just
no.
an area.
An area. The reason why that's important is because, well, we'll talk about it here in just a second. But Egypt is all this here, which includes part of the Fertile Crescent, the Nile River, and then all these areas here, and bunch. So we have Egypt. The next important piece of land is Canaan. It's right here on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea in the Fertile Crescent. Canaan, that's where God wanted Abraham to go. Oh, actually, let me skip that one first. Let me do this one first. We'll talk about it. Okay, I did put up a new little name. Over here, at the tip of the Persian Gulf, somewhere in there was a city called Ur. U-R. You remember, that's where Abraham lived. That's where God called Abraham. And God called Abraham out of his land to go to a new country, one that he had never been to before, to Canaan. And Abraham gets up and he goes. But he doesn't go this way. I guess I could draw it on my... He doesn't go here and cut across. Can you see that? Yeah. Because that's desert. He would die. His animals would die, etc. But instead, he follows the Fertile Crescent and goes kind of up here. Up here. Just a sec. Let me get a new pencil here. Okay. He follows the rivers, takes the long way into Canaan. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Because that's where all the water was. He was rich, you remember. So he had a lot of cattle, a lot of livestock, a lot of people. So from Ur to Canaan, those two places are important. The next place that's important for us as far as biblically goes is Babylon. This is the area that later is known as Babylon, between the Tigris and the Euphrates and surrounding those rivers. That was Babylon. The next group, and actually I guess I should have put Assyria first. Assyria was the first superpower. And they lived up here in this area. They came down and attacked Israel and Canaan, took away the north. Of course, Babylon was the second world superpower. They came in and took away the south. And then Media was the next one. They're kind of from over there on the east side of Babylon, but they didn't last for very long. Persia became the next world superpower. Persia was over there by the Persian Gulf. So that's where those nations came from, or were located. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll do this one. Now, I did fill in a few modern day, just so that I put these in parentheses to try to not cause any confusion. But today, these countries, of course, we know this is Palestine over here at Canaan. It's not known as Canaan land anymore. Palestine, Israel, Lebanon's over there. Egypt is still Egypt. This desert is Saudi Arabia today. Over here by Persia and Media is Iran, country of Iran. Babylon now is known as Iraq. Assyria really now is known as Syria. And then Turkey in between the Black and Mediterranean seas. So if you had a globe at home or Google, if you wanted to Google a map, you'd see that's where they all are. Today. That's what they're called today, anyway. And then lastly, for fun, just because this is fun to know, it's generally accepted that after the flood of Noah, you have the dispersion of the people, right? Babel happens and they all separate. And so generally, Shem's people or Ham's people stayed around Egypt. Shem's people stayed near in this area. Shemites, the Semitics. And then you have Japheth's people that direction, European direction. At least that's the thought about it anyway. What's that?
Ham and Shem. Who?
Japheth's way up here.
Oh,
Yeah.
there it is.
Beautiful work.
So Shem
No.
got the desert.
Yes, Shem got the desert. The Shemites, from which we get the word Semitic. Shemite. Shemitic. Shemitic. Okay, are we good with that map? Ready to go on the next one? Any questions about this map?
Is all the white area on there, is that basically desert? So that is just
Land, yeah.
desert land. Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's, yeah. Now, today, a lot of these places, I mean, you know, you have some population in Saudi Arabia, of course, Turkey, and, you know, all these places, Iran populated, but, I mean, you know, that's desert out in Iraq, and, you know.
Well, you got Iraq in the Fertile Crescent.
Yeah, but it's still, I mean, you know, if you're by the river, but if you're in Iraq and you're, you know, still kind of out here, you're getting close to desert,
Oh, gotcha.
you know. But here, Saudi Arabia, oh my, it's desert. I don't know where they go, ship their water. And they may have, I don't know, they build, I don't know. I don't live there. Okay, we good? Okay, next map. I'll leave that up for a second while I hand these out. We're going to go on to ancient Egypt. We'll take one, pass it along. Oh, do you need it?
Oh, it's okay.
Are you sure? Because I put it back up in 2 seconds. Okay.
Oh, it's right there. It's like, oh, there.
Oh, here.
It's okay.
Finish
No,
it.
It's okay.
See, it doesn't take long.
I want to stay like, don't
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we have a map of ancient Egypt. Do you see anything familiar?
I see the
What do you?
Red Sea.
Okay, Red Sea. Let's label that Red Sea. Oh, not that one. Red Sea. And we're going to name the two fingers there. First one there and the west side is called the Gulf of Suez. Mm-hmm. The east finger is called the Gulf of Aqaba. Okay. Anything else look familiar on this map? The Nile River, all right. You can color that or label it. There's the Nile River. This map only shows 3 branches, but there are several. All right. What other body of water do you notice on this one? Familiar. It should, yeah. The Mediterranean Sea. Very good. So we'll label that. It's up there. And you'll notice in the upper right-hand corner, there's one more little body of water sticking out there. Does anybody happen to know what that is? It's in Canaan. You're not going to be able to see it on my map. It's the Dead Sea. No, it's not on the ancient world map.
I
Yeah.
was trying to
You could
cheat.
put it on there if you want.
I was just trying to cheat.
That's a new one. Yeah. Now we can, oh, you may be interested to know this one here, this little body right here. At the tip of the Gulf of Suez is called the Great Bitter Lake. I didn't label it on here because it's not important. You don't hear about that in the Bible anywhere. But that's just its name. But it is a body of water. Great Bitter Lake. All right, so now we can color those in if you want to.
Is the Dead Sea the one they also call the Salt Sea? Because there's so much salt everything now, is that the deal?
Yep.
Figured that one out.
And apparently if you go in it, you can float. You will float. It's so dense.
I thought everybody floated in water.
Sooner or later you float.
Sooner or
No. I suppose that's accurate, Penny. Okay, let's look a little bit at Egypt. Egypt can be divided into 2 main areas, really, and these are really funny and unique. There is Upper Egypt, which is not where you thought it would be. Yeah. Upper Egypt is down south, also known as the Highland. And then, as you can guess, there would be a Lower Egypt. It is north, and it is called the Lowland. So crazy. The reason is because the Nile River flows from south to north. So I drew an arrow. So it flows from, not as you'd expect, you'd think it'd flow south from the Mediterranean Sea down, but it actually flows north from the highland to the lowland.
Backwards gravity.
Yeah. From Upper Egypt to Lower Egypt is how that river flows. And I went ahead and colored mine in green a little bit because that is a very, very, very fertile area. Now, you get very far away from the Nile River, desert. Dry and barren, but near the river, plush, luscious garden, perfect growing areas. And that's why it's included in that Fertile Crescent. And so up here, if you remember, where did the children of Israel live when they came out of Canaan during Joseph's time? Goshen, that's right. And the king, Pharaoh, gave Israel the best of the land. And so Goshen is up there toward the Mediterranean Sea, where the Nile River forks and branches off into various littler rivers. That was considered the best of the land of Egypt because it had so many rivers. You had the possibility for planting and growing and feeding cattle abundantly up there where the Nile branches out. As opposed to here, this wouldn't have been the best of the land because you only have access to one river, but up there you had coast and various branches of the Nile River up there. I put the name Avaris up there because if you all have been coming to when we have movie night and we've been watching the documentary series on Egypt and Moses and all of that, that name is mentioned a lot as far as being the archaeological discovery place, I suppose, of where the Israelites actually were. Avaris. So I put it Avaris.
That helps, thank you. So is that where they were doing the big dig?
Yeah, one of them, I guess. Avaris. Of course, we can label Canaan. It's over there by the Dead Sea. I would imagine that I never really thought about it till right now, but I would imagine that when Joseph's brothers and his father came, and all their families and livestock and everything they owned went from Canaan to Egypt, I imagine that they followed pretty closely to the Mediterranean Sea coast, because otherwise you're just in a desert, right? For the most part.
Which part of Egypt did they actually go to?
Goshen. It would be the very north,
Yeah.
the very northern part, yeah.
Yeah, but where was Joseph? So where would be the capital where the Pharaoh lived?
Well, I'm not sure during his time. I know that Cairo, let me draw it here, is about right here. Today, still, it's right there.
I don't see it.
Oh, right here,
Oh, okay.
kind of right in there,
Oh,
Cairo.
okay.
I would suppose during Joseph's day it was near there, just because that was the plushest, best part of Egypt, was there. Of course, Pharaoh ruled over all of Egypt, but anyway, that's where Joseph was. That's where Joseph was. That's where his family lived. And that's where the children of Israel grew and grew and grew until into millions of people there. Okay, what do I have next here? Oh, yeah, so we're going to label this now. So here in between the two fingers of the Red Sea, we have what's called the Sinai Peninsula. And at the base of that peninsula, we have Mount Sinai. This is a very important location. And then directly to the east of the Gulf of Aqaba is the land of Midian. Of course, you know Midian, a lot of stuff happened in Midian. Do you remember when Moses killed a man and he ran away? And he went to the land of Midian. That's where he got his wife.
I was going to say, she was a Midianite.
She was a Midianite. That's where the burning bush occurred, somewhere around there, was the land of Midian. Eventually, of course, Moses goes back to Egypt, and that's when, the whole 10 plagues thing happened, and then the children of Israel leave, and then when they come out of Egypt, of course, God had given Moses instructions to go to the mountain, Mount Sinai. So that's where, of course, Moses receives the law. The whole mountain and the earth shakes and quakes, and it's fiery and loud, and all that happens in there.
So how long was he in Midian?
Wow, I'd have to look. No, yeah.
It's a long time.
Was it? I mean, I know that.
believe so. Well,
I
in
don't
the movie,
remember
he
what.
turned into an old man.
It's almost like his life was
I don't
split
remember.
into 40s. He was
Yeah.
in Egypt for 40 years.
There you go.
And then he was, in his middle life in Midian for 40 years.
There you
Because he
go.
was 80 when he went back to Egypt, wasn't he?
Right.
Then he
I think
died at
so.
120.
120, that's right.
Oh, that's easy to remember.
Yes.
That is.
Thank you, Denise.
With that.
Thought I might be able to find the passage quickly, but no. Okay. Okay, we have that, right? And, oh, I did put this on here. You can if you want. You don't have to. But, of course, you know what happened here. When the 12 spies went in to spy out the land of Canaan, 2 gave the favorable report, 10 did not. As a result, there was this whole wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, right? Whole generation of Israelites died. So what would have been a pretty quick journey from the Sinai Peninsula into Canaan land did not. They stayed wandering there in the desert for 40 years. So that's why I put that little thing. And I did put the arrow pointing on the east side of the Dead Sea because that is the direction and the way that they went to go into Canaan. They did not go in through the southern edge of Canaan. They went around the Dead Sea. All right, any questions about this map?
So the Mount Sinai and all that area, is that part of Egypt? How far did Egypt's boundary go?
Yeah, I don't know. Even then, now, I don't
Then
I don't know. I guess you could Google it, modern day map of Egypt, and see where it extends. I'm not sure. And then I don't know either. What?
It's not pertinent.
Oh,
I
that's
just
okay.
who lived in Lower and Upper Egypt. If they all lived up there by Goshen.
Oh no, there
who
was.
lived and what did they?
Have you ever heard of Luxor, Egypt?
Yes.
Thebes, I think
Yes.
Luxor is down here,
Okay.
Upper
Okay.
Egypt. So there was, I mean, there was population, especially along the Nile River.
Yeah.
But as far as biblical history,
Yeah.
our biblical history occurred up in the northern part, Goshen. And Egypt, throughout Israel's history, was a key player in the political climate of the day. They were a nation, a mighty nation, too. So there was a lot of history. There's a lot of history there in Egypt, and it, all things considered, it's not that far from Canaan. Really, not like Ur. Ur is really far, but it's pretty close.
Okay, what sea did Moses part when they left?
Okay, the Red Sea.
Okay.
Now, this is something I think the movie is going to get into, because a lot of people are like, well, the sea doesn't go all the way up there. What were they doing? You know, did they go? I don't know the answer to that question. I know what I've always thought, but it may not be accurate. So I'm not even going to try to say it, but the Bible just says he parted the Red Sea.
You would think it would be for the fastest, because they were trying to get away from
Yep. So, you know, it could be the very tip, which is still, it's still the Red Sea. They didn't have to go to the very big body water, you know, of water, but
But the
somewhere.
problem with the fastest is they did have Egyptian outposts.
Well, I don't
And-
even know which direction.
Yeah.
I mean, it could.
Yeah.
That was just the first thing I thought of. It's the fastest way to get across.
Yeah. So they had some fortifications.
Parting. Well, I know, but if they're, I don't know. That's just, I don't even.
Mhm.
They
Because-
could be
Why
coming
God
from.
sent them?
That's yeah.
God wanted them to go to Mount Sinai. I want you to come back here to this mountain, right? So they got to go to the mountain, and so they're going to follow the water.
How long did it take them to get to?
Because you think, okay, if they just had to go to Canaan, but that's not where God wanted them to go,
Oh.
right? Because if they just were supposed to go to Canaan and get out of Egypt and go to Canaan, they could have just followed the Mediterranean Sea there. But God didn't want them to go there yet.
Yeah, because the Philistines were there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And
so-
which is our next map. We won't do it today because I won't keep you for this one. But the Philistia is right here in Canaan. So it's, and they were mean. They were bad. But of course, you know, they had giants too. Goliath was there. Anyway, but God didn't want them to go to Canaan directly out of Egypt. He wanted them to go to the mountain, Sinai. He had a purpose and a plan. God always has a purpose. God always
Do you
has a
think
plan.
they followed the Nile fertile area for a while and then crossed over?
Possibly.
And when they got out there in the deserts, when they started questioning
Well, yeah, yeah. You know, a lot of stuff happened when they were over, you know, in the desert. I mean, they started complaining pretty quick once they got out of Egypt. Well, even before they got out, they were, you know, when they were at the edge of the Red Sea, and then they saw Egypt's army coming. Oh man, they were really wondering what in the world they were, why they followed that man Moses out of there. But y'all know what happened. Okay, good. Anything else? Simple maps, easy, good. Okay, I don't have anything else as far as these two maps go. Now our next two maps next week will be the land of Canaan itself. So we're just going to look at Canaan. There's a lot of great stuff there. I really like that map. And then we're going to look at the New Testament world map. So I don't know if I have these here. Well, here's Canaan's map. So we're going to, this would be the Dead Sea here. And so we're going to fill in a bunch of really key places in Canaan, and then we're going to look back, not at this map, but one that kind of looks like this. It's extended though out here at the New Testament world map. So we're going to talk about where Paul went and significant places during the New Testament times that are important to us when we read the Bible.
Do you have copies of those already?
Of the next week's maps? Yes. Do you want them already? Okay. Yes, I will give you a couple of those. Okay, I'll do that in just a second. Whoop. I don't want to see that. Okay. Thank y'all for being here today. I hope it was helpful. I think next week's will be even more helpful. Although I do think this is helpful. We'll close with a prayer if anybody would like to lead that. Okay, yes, that'd be great. Thank you, Haley.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for today. We thank you for the rain. We thank you for the opportunity to get together with our sisters and learn more about your word. Every part of it is important to us, and we are grateful for the opportunity to learn more. We ask that you please go with us throughout this week and help us to take your word and use it and be good members of society and spread your word and to our friends and our family who need it. We thank you so much for the gift of the Bible and the sacrifice of your Son. And it's in his holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Haley.